Coming up, it's This Week in Google. Jeff and Gina are here. We'll talk about Apple's announcements yesterday, Google's stock price crossing $1,000, and answer the question, is Android really open source? It's all next on This Week in Google.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 221, recorded October 23rd, 2013. Hairy Toes. This Week in Google is brought to you by LegalZoom.com. Visit LegalZoom.com for affordable legal solutions you can trust. LegalZoom's not a law firm, but you can get self-help services at your specific direction, or speak to a legal plan attorney and get your questions answered and get ongoing advice. Visit LegalZoom.com and use the offer code TWIG to receive $10 off at checkout. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, visit personalcapital.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show that covers really anything we feel like covering because we've got a brilliant panel here, myself excluded. And if they want to talk about it, we'll talk about it, starting with Jeff Jarvis over here, professor of journalism, City University of New York, with his Q cat in hand. He's on Google Plus as Jeff Jarvis, of course, and his book, Public Parts, is on Amazon along with Gutenberg the Geek, his Amazon single.
Gutenberg the Geek now available in Chinese, German, Italian, and Audible.
How do you say geek in Chinese? Do you know?
I have no idea what it is.
It's nerd in German.
It translated back to geek. I translated the cover, translated back to geek. But the Germans didn't like that, and so it was Gutenberg der Nerd. And the Italian was Gutenberg il Geek.
Il Geek.
Il Geek.
Il Geek Corino.
Il Geek.
I love Italians. That's Gina Trapani speaking Italians. She is
our favorite Italian.
She's our favorite Italian from ThinkUp.com, where they are now raising. How is the fundraising going over there?
Going great. It's going great. Our goal was 1,000 subscribers. We're measuring our success in people rather than money, and we're in the high 800s, I think.
873.
Come on, people! Come on! By the end of the show, come on, give the address, Gina. By the end of the show, we got to hit 1,000. Are you geeks or are you mice?
127 more people shouldn't be too hard to get.
We're in good shape. We're in good shape, and I'm sure that's no small parts of the Twit. So. And I'm wearing my fangirl gear. I was up at Google this weekend.
Oh, which Google were you up at?
I was at the Mountain View, the Plex, the canonical Google Plex. Yeah, I was at they had the Mentor Summit for Google Summer of Code, which is an open source mentoring program. I was a mentor this summer. I had a great student, and then they have a conference for the mentors. So I got to spend the weekend and visit the store, and I saw the Android statues. I posted a picture on my Google Plus, so It was a lot of fun. I was totally geeked out about it. I hadn't really spent time. I had never done the campus tour or been in the store. So it was fun to be there.
Is it anything
I love going there.
Is it anything like the movie The Internship?
Well, it's funny because I fairly recently saw The Internship, and they shot a lot of it in Building 43, which is the building with the steps.
Right.
So I walked in there and was like, oh yeah, this is where the movie is. I mean, it's a lot brighter kind of in the movie, but I got to see there was like a plastic bin of those paddles, the yes, no, one side is green, one side is red. So I got to see the panels. And, that whole outside area where they're sitting outside, and the Google bikes, of course, the multicolored bikes, which just kind of sit around campus. So yeah, it did feel a little bit like it was the movie, except, it was a little overcast at times. It wasn't as perfectly lit, of course, as the movie, but it was a really fun weekend. I mean, it's an office park. I think I had built up in my head, after all the articles that you read about how amazing it is to work there. I mean, there's lots of primary colors, but it's an office park. And yes, there's a slide in one building from the second floor to the first floor, and there are like random Burning Man, shark fins like in the middle of the of the concrete. I mean, there's some quirky stuff here and there, but it's it was fine.
I remember going to Intel. Back in the day when I helped work on that tablet over there, and the soulless, just cubicle after cubicle after cubicle in Dilbert land.
Yeah.
Google is still different from that.
Although Andy Grove at the time, the CEO of Intel, was quite proud of that. He was in a cubicle, not in a big corner office.
You're suffering, so I'm suffering.
Right.
Yeah, I can see it far. Yeah.
There's a great scene in Dave Edgar's The Circle, which is, I haven't finished, but so far quite enjoyable, in which the young woman protagonist arrives at her new job at The Circle, which is pretty clearly Google. Might be Facebook. The founder's in a hoodie, so maybe it's a mix. But she arrives, and she's blown away by, there's buildings where it's all glass, so you're working like floating in space. You look down and you can see the people below you and stuff. And then she gets to her cubicle, and it's burlap, and the chair's broken, and she has a CRT display, and she gets really bummed out. She goes, what? And then her new boss and old friend laughs and says, it cost me a lot of money to get this thing here. This is not where you're sitting. It is not InnoTech.
Is that book going to drive me crazy?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard a lot about that book. Kate Lossy, who wrote The Boy Kings, says that Eggers basically completely ripped off her book.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to read that.
Yeah.
It's a Luddite's point of view, frankly.
Yeah. She said that he oversimplified, and it was a lot of hyperbole and whatever. She says that he co-opted her experience as a young woman and decided to rewrite it.
Is that the person who wrote Stephen Levy quoted?
I'm not sure if Levy.
I'll have to read
Stephen Levy quoted someone else. Really interesting story that he heard about this Romana Clef about Google that was not published, and he asked permission to read it, and he used some of the atmosphere from that in his book, getting clearance from the author as to what was real and what was fictional. But the book never went anywhere, and now that Eggers has his book out, she said, well, screw it, and she pulled it back out, and this editing, and it's not now up as an ebook.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
This might be the same person.
I'm going to have to read all of these. Sometimes fiction is the best way to understand what's going on in real life.
Yeah.
To me, oftentimes. I do like your new header image on your Google Plus page.
Oh, thank you.
I think somebody's headed to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Great. Don't take a left at the Midtown Tunnel, though. You got to keep going.
Yeah, no. I got to stay on the BQE.
Yeah, the BQE. Very important. I love it. It's thinkup.com. Everybody should go there and sign up. I can't wait. I'm very excited. It's going to launch, just January, right?
January 15th.
The hosted version of Gina's amazing analytics software. Well, I guess really in some ways the big story this week is not a Google story. You're gasping. It's an Apple story and maybe a Microsoft story, but
it's not really a big story.
But we can interpret it in through the Google prism. How about that?
That's okay. But one thing that struck me as it was going on, and no offense, you do great coverage, but my God, how many live blogs of the same PR do you need in life?
I know. Well, that's why you should watch us, so you don't have to, collate all these different live blogs.
It's true, and so you don't have to go through all the effort of waiting for the refresh and all the stuff. You just tell you what's going to go on.
And we make it a little entertaining. We joke around a little bit, mock people's clothing, things like that.
Yeah, you can't take it too seriously. That's what you got to do.
No.
You got to have fun with it.
What were the cuffs who was wearing that silly shirt? Was it Eddie Q? He was like wearing a shirt that required cufflinks with no cufflinks, and it just was and then of course Tim Cook, instead of saying the Dark Knight, he's looking at Batman. He calls it the Black Knight, which is like from Monty Python, I think. So we have fun with it, but I think it's a big challenge for Apple because you have such a successful product that really doesn't need a lot of updates. So it's a question of putting fins on the car right now. And one of the things we've observed, and I think this is Apple's really bearing this out, is it's now fashion. It's no longer technology. It's now fashion. And Apple, there's Eddie Q and his fashionable whatever.
I see that style.
That people wear that? I thought like he was trying to put the cufflinks in, and then they said, Eddie, you're on. And he goes, oh, screw it, and throws them and runs out.
God, no.
I've done that, so I kind of understand. But I think Apple, they hired their new director of retail is the former CEO of Burberry, or soon to be former CEO of Burberry, a fashion, brand. In fact, somebody who took a stodgy British brand and made it a fashion brand. They've hired other fashion folks. And you got to think Johnny Ive. What does he do? As much as make beautiful, I mean, makes great products, but they're beautiful products. They're about fashion. Design is somewhat of a fashion thing. And I think the technology is taking a backseat now to how it looks.
That's really a smart observation, Leo.
Well, and it makes sense. When you have a mature technology, that's how you do it. Detroit learned that 9 years ago.
Well, another way to put it, though, is fashion is all smoke and mirrors. I mean, I worked in Condé Nast, which is an amazing empire built on just that. But what makes, a shirt is a shirt, but no. But what makes a Vogue outfit different from a real simple outfit is ether.
But if you're thinking, if you're trying,
Apple's made of ether.
If you're trying to sell a mature product, and you're most importantly trying to get somebody to take the last year's product and buy a new one, which isn't much improved, how do you do it? You do it with looks. You do it with, we'll flatten the icons. We'll make it thinner, lighter. Now, having said that, I think the iPad Air is significantly lighter. It goes from 1.4 pounds to 1 pound. Yeah. That's something it needed to do. It was really kind of a heavy device, and I think that's...
I'm so used to my 7-inch tablet that when I see people on the subway with a 10-inch, I think that they've got the kiddie version.
Right.
Or perhaps I should say the Fox News version.
I was going to say the Shepard Smith version.
Shepard Smith version.
And then, of course, Apple responded to the Nexus 7, which has a very high-resolution display, by making its 7.9-inch tablet, the iPad Mini, also now with Retina display. In fact, a couple of dots per inch better than the Nexus 7. So, I mean, that really... But I thank Google, because I think Apple could have done this a year ago. They didn't, and I think Google put the pressure on them. And but one thing that didn't happen was you didn't see a significant price drop. But what you did see is Apple continuing to sell the old Mini and, oddly enough, the iPad 2, which is now 3 generations old, at lower prices. The iPad 2, I think we all agreed, was designed aimed at the education market, and the Mini is the lowest price iPad at $299. I think, again, responding to the $229 price point for the Nexus 7.
Yeah, for me, the technology advances are just the small, the size and the thinness. Yeah, because that is an engineering feat, right? To get these things so light and thin, but then they have to do the chamfered edges and iOS 7, to kind of sexy it up for regular people and do the slow-mo videos.
Oddly, I would, of all people, be most susceptible to this. I would think. I don't feel any urge to buy a new iPad. Do you?
Yeah, it didn't really work on me. My iPad's pretty old. I have an iPad 2 now.
It works fine.
Yeah, it works fine. I mean, I'll stop in an Apple store and hold it though, because I'm curious, right?
Sure.
Because they're good. They're good at doing those videos. And I think, I don't know, there's something so cute about Johnny Ive talking about all the challenges they took on. That works on me. But yeah, no, I probably won't buy one. I'm pretty embedded in it in the Android verse though, so I'm not a good. Plenty of my friends who do the iPhone thing would want a new iPad.
Right.
What was the last Apple product that surprised you?
You really have to think hard. The Mac Pro is surprising. The new Mac Pro is surprising. That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that is a 1% product, if ever there was one.
Yeah, I mean, I never had one, so I wasn't invested in the Mac Pro getting better. But yeah, that is one.
It's pretty though, even if you weren't
looking computer.
Even if you weren't a Mac Pro customer.
But that's still fashion. Okay, that's still
it's fashion times 10.
Pure fashion. All right, but apart from technology, what was the last, in a technological sense, the last Apple product or announcement that surprised?
Well, the iPhone probably. Well, no, the iPad. The iPad was a revolution.
The iPad. Okay, that was it. That's been how long?
That's 2010.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
When I remember being surprised by the MacBook Air.
Oh yeah, and the Air is definitely still the best laptop out there. Everybody in the Intel world is copied it.
Everybody loves the Air. So I've always been tempted by it, but I've never bought an Air because I'm not convinced that it can run Xcode and Eclipse and all the things that I need for I'm not convinced that it's as powerful as I need.
It runs Eclipse beautifully. Yeah.
It does. It does. Okay. I might. Yeah. People love the Air.
The earliest one wouldn't have Jamie.
No, in fact, the new Air is great. The new Air would be a very good choice.
But the when they first launched the Air and they showed somebody slipping it into a yellow envelope, a manila envelope, that made an impression on me. That was an incredible And I thought, people made fun of it in our circles. Oh, it's the Paris Hilton. No one wants such a little. Everybody loves it.
That's function. That's form follows function. That's a functional improvement that happens to look great.
Yeah.
And was that before or after the iPad?
The first Air was before the iPad.
Before the iPad.
Yeah, but it's gotten better and better looking.
The iPad's the last one.
So the iPad be the last one. Somebody in the chat room said, well, Apple Maps was pretty surprising to some people if you followed their directions. Well, this is another area where Apple is definitely going after Google, and I think maybe has eclipsed Google in some ways now with OS X Mavericks, which is free. And that, of course, that price point is aimed at Microsoft, not Google. But we talked about this before the show began. Apple and Microsoft, in a way, have a problem when they come up against Amazon and Google, because Amazon and Google can give away hardware or sell it close to cost because they make their money on the back end. Google with advertising, Amazon with sales. And so that makes it hard to sell hardware because they're taking the profit out of the hardware. So Apple has responded by giving away software and doing premium priced hardware. And Microsoft has gotten out of the software business, has gotten into the hardware business for, I think, looking at Apple saying, yeah, we better start making our own hardware. That's why they bought Nokia. That's why they're making Surface. This is a big change for Microsoft. Anyway, here's this is OS X Mavericks, a free operating system. Wow. And the new Maps app is built into this. This is an Apple Maps app. But one of the things that's very cool is the new iOS calendar, not iOS, OS X calendar. When you make an appointment, it will add a map link to it. This is something Google doesn't do. It will also add travel time to the appointment, knowing the travel time from the maps. And that's something I'd love to see in Google Calendar.
Except that when I put a calendar item in, I'm never at the place I'm going to be going there from.
Well, it looks, so what, I don't know. I haven't played with it, but what they say is it looks at your previous appointment and your next appointment, looks at the travel time, and moves the next appointment up by the amount of time extra it's going to take to get there. Says leave now. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Google Now, it's a Google Now-ish feature. And we actually talked about this during the Apple event, that Apple would love to start doing some Google Now stuff, but they don't have the signals. They don't collect the signals that Google does.
Exactly. The signals is the business, man.
Google's got all your search results,
and Amazon
all your email.
Yep.
Amazon can't do it either.
No, but they have some signal. They have more signals than Apple
they
has.
They have commerce signals for sure.
Yes, which Google would die to have.
Yeah. But Google Now does do that. It'll say, oh, it's going to take you 15 minutes to get to your appointment. You should leave now.
Google Now was messing up this week. I was down at a Google event I'll talk about in a little bit, and I got there early because just to get some work done and breakfast and so. And then when I was there, Google said it's going to take you 37 minutes to get here. I'm like, Google, you're better than this. And I was at a Google event.
Well, it ought to know.
Google.
I just swipe away cards that are off. But yeah, I've gotten anything you search for, it'll say I searched for a restaurant in San Francisco. We drove down from Mountain View for dinner, and then the next day it was like 43 minutes to such and such. I was like, it's breakfast. I'm not going back there.
Right.
That's
it's fine.
Obvious that
it's doing its best.
It's doing its best.
We don't want it to be too good. It would be too creepy.
Yeah. Right. It's like you need a reminder. It needs to screw up every once in a while, so you get a reminder that it's just a computer.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, phew.
But yeah. Interesting.
So the one that gets me now is the new place. 25 here it has right here. 25 minutes to a new place. Oh God, someplace new. The Golden Crust Bakery and Grill.
Go there
in
now.
the middle of nowhere.
Go there now.
For Jamaican patties, which I've tried and I don't like. Why is it doing this to me? I don't know. I don't get it. Google. Do I care about this place? No.
Well, that happens to me all the time, and that's exactly what you click, right? It says, do you want us to tell you more about this? And you say no, and it never bothers you again.
I know, but I don't see the logic of why it picked that.
Why did it start?
It's terribly random.
Yeah. So there you go. Apple has new iPads. Apple has new notebooks. Apple gives away operating systems and software. I mean, I have to say, Apple giving away the iWorks suite for anybody who buys any new Apple stuff is directly aimed at Google Docs.
Microsoft.
And Google
Microsoft.
Docs. And they took great pains, even though they picked a very bad example, to show how you can collaborate on iWorks docs, which is a feature that Google Docs has had to itself up till now.
Google Docs has to get some more elegance.
It's not pretty.
No.
It's not pretty.
Very useful.
Yeah.
And I find that I am so addicted now to the collaboration. I was working on a grant proposal last week, and then when the guy who had to set it off had to get it in Microsoft Word, it just took away all the collaboration. It took away everything.
Now, doesn't Office 365 do collaboration in the cloud?
It doesn't have real-time collaboration, does it?
It doesn't. I'm not sure. I have to say, I agree that Google Docs needs some jazzing up, but I spend a lot of time in it.
So did you watch the iCloud, the iWorks demonstration, and did that make you?
So this is when they're making the album cover. I was watching.
Yeah, the bad Eddie Q album. Boy, I mean, it was like word art from 1995. But
yeah, no. I mean, I was like, okay, like this is right, real-time collaboration. Like we've seen. I've watched things move on a page that my collaborator were moving. You know, at a remote. It didn't seem like the most mind-blowy thing in the world, but I was like, oh, good, like. You know, Apple's getting better at services, right? That's what they need to get better at. That's the thing that they generally are.
Alex Lindsay was sitting over here, and his company uses Google Docs for that collaboration feature primarily. And he was very excited. He said, oh, thank God, because I'm just suffering with the crappy, you know, look and feel of Google Docs.
Well, Google Docs doesn't have the visual. So that was... What app was that? Was it Keynote? It wasn't Keynote.
It was probably Pages. I don't remember.
It was Pages, right? So Google doesn't have an equivalent visual, like, you know, thing that you would make a poster in. So I get how that would be exciting for someone who's doing that kind of design.
Right.
They have drawings. You know, Google has drawings.
I never used Pages. Did you ever use Pages? I never used Pages. I used Quark in the day.
Therein lies the problem.
Word.
Apple has... you know, word processor Pages. It has a spreadsheet, numbers. It has a presentation manager, Keynote, and they're still getting clobbered by Office. And then on the other end, at the high end, and at the other end, they're getting clobbered by Google Docs.
Yeah. I think I've used Keynote once or twice. I think that's it. I haven't used any other stuff.
So there you go. Okay, never mind. No, that's a great test. It did not. It was aimed at you guys because you both use the collaborative features of Google Docs, and neither one of you, your ears pricked up. It just was like, yeah, well, I don't think I'll ever want to do an album with Eddie Q, so I guess not.
I mean, there's also, if I were to use that software, I'd be assuming that my collaborator also has access to that software. I don't have to worry about whether or not somebody has access to a web browser.
Well, no, that software works in a web browser. You can do that in a web browser.
Oh, that was all. That was in
Safari. Yeah.
Oh, that totally.
And it works in Chrome, and it works on a Pixel. It works on a Chromebook.
And it works on Chrome. Yeah. Wow. So I mean, the Apple event live stream doesn't work in Chrome.
No.
So
for odd reasons. Yeah, they have to have Safari to watch the live stream. Is that weird?
So I just assumed that nothing works in not that many Apple web apps would work in Chrome. So that's great. That's cool. I guess that's a little more exciting. I totally missed that.
Yeah, they didn't make that clear. Missed the boat. And also, unfortunately, Apple has such a bad reputation for cloud services. iCloud and before it MobileMe were such abominations that I think people are burned and they're not even going to even think about it until they hear 100 of their friends say, oh, no, it's really good now.
Well, but again, so then I've got to, some of my friends are on Windows machines, some are elsewhere. The odds that they're going to think of an Apple service.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Right. All right. Enough. Let's no more talk about Apple. Let us banish the thought from our mind.
Let's go back to the future.
Instead, celebrate that Google stock has now reached stratospheric proportions.
I thought it would go down with profit taking. It has not.
$1,031.44.
Up $24.45 today alone. 2.43%.
And all of this because of its quarterly results last week.
Yeah.
Boy, you beat
You
beat the street. See, the street must be a masochist because when you beat the street, it kisses you back.
Yes.
I went way too far on that one.
So I realize I'm skipping ahead, but so that their stock hits $1,000 for the first time, and they're experimenting with giant banner ads in search results.
Oh dear, I know, I saw that.
So explain that one to me. I was waiting for Jeff. I kind of wanted Jeff to.
I know.
Either
well,
defend...
I actually have two reactions. Well, okay.
Is there a search? Is there an organic search I can do that I'm going to see this? Do we know?
It's only on brands.
So I'm going to search for Staples.
It's one of their experiments that they're only running for certain users.
Not everybody will see it.
Yeah, I tried Southwest and I didn't see it.
You see it?
I'm not
I have
seeing
seen it.
No.
Yes. And it's actually, I can't remember. And actually, here I'm going to get accused of being Google defender here. It worked graphically, right? I was looking for this brand. What it did, Gina, was that it made the Google search result feel more like the brand's page. And don't forget, Google already has all these listings under the main results, so I can go directly to things, the About Us page or the Buy page or the this page or that page. So now it felt more brandy. Look at this silliness that advertisers have done, where it doesn't happen with Staples, but it happens with other brands, where you search on a brand, Lufthansa, and there's the Lufthansa listing first, of course, that's what Google knows you're looking at, and then the Google Lufthansa bought the ad above it. Never made any sense unless they were trying to stop Air France from buying it. I'm not sure what, but it was a waste of money for the advertiser. Now, when it's the same brand, there you go.
So now search for Southwest Airlines. This doesn't bother me either. I don't know why. It should.
No,
so that's a live search. So you're getting it, Leo.
No, this is from the Search Engine Land's results.
Okay,
I tried it and I'm not
ad.
getting it. Yeah.
Here's why. It's not a banner ad. It's a branding position. Right?
It looks a lot
position.
like a banner ad.
What's the difference?
Message
Wait a minute. What the hell's the difference between a banner ad and a branding position? What the hell are you talking about?
It doesn't have a message.
Okay. It's just
a
picture.
It's a label.
Yeah.
Right. It's a sign over the store, and so it kind of. I didn't look at it and say, "Oi."
No, it doesn't say try our $39 fare or anything. It just says Southwest.com.
It feels like Southwest page, and I can do my business within Southwest directly from there.
Yeah, I don't mind this so much. It does clearly say sponsored. And you searched for Southwest Airlines. If it did this, if I searched for flights and it did this, I'd be mad.
Exactly. And that's why it didn't seem out of place to me. And I saw it happen. I thought, whoa, I was in the middle of going through something and I said, I got to remember that for Twig, which of course I didn't because I'm old. But I saw that happen and I thought, oh, well, actually that kind of looked nice. And indeed, I was trying to go directly into whatever that brand stuff was.
So Google could justify it saying, well, we're giving you a better experience than what you asked for. This is what you want.
Yeah, and for the brand, it certainly is better.
Right. It's what you asked us for.
But Chad, was it Chad? Did you find that quote from Marissa in the rundown? Who did that good work?
Yeah, that was actually, so my co-founder Anil, who constantly trolls me about being a Google fangirl, pulled up a blog post from 2005, authored by Marissa Meyer, and in which she said, there will be no banner ads on the Google homepage or web search results pages. There will not be crazy, flashy, graphical doodads flying and popping up all over the Google site. Period. Ever. Period.
Well, she should have written not on my watch.
Not on my watch, right?
Well, and of course, it will happen on her watch on Yahoo. She'll happily sell that.
Right.
Well, I mean, on Yahoo, that is what Yahoo is. I mean, right? Yahoo is banner ads and crazy, graphical, flashy, things, doodads flying all around. So, but she inherited that. It was, it was an interesting quote to pull out. It does toe the line of banner ad. And, and I was going back and forth with Neil because we constantly have this debate because, he has the marketing guy's perspective and I have like the coder guy's, coder kind of perspective. And so I said to him, oh, can you imagine the marketing guy? But they asked for the ad. It's not evil, and he said, yeah. And the coder said, and it's open because it's HTML5. So we were kind of chatting with one another.
Well, that's what that tweet meant. I saw that go by between you and Anil there. I didn't understand the context.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Well, the question they should really be asking, and I'm sure that this is why it's still an experiment, is how does this impact the experience somebody has of Google? If suddenly you feel like, I don't want a Google that looks like Yahoo. If suddenly you feel like you have to thread your way through Google results to figure out what's real and what's not, that's not a good experience and it's damaging to Google, regardless of whether it makes them money or even whether people complain. You don't want to start communicating the experience that you can't be sure what you're looking at when you get a Google result. And I'm sure that's what Marissa Meyer was thinking. We want Google results to be pure, So and this is where we talked about this last week, where Do Not Evil came from. We do not want to be, what was it, go.com, and put ad results in the search results.
If I type in Southwest Airlines in the ad request, it does come up for me on my search results.
It does.
I get that, right? And so what I see on my first screen, as you see there, is Southwest Airlines, 6 links directly in: check flight status, schedules, customer service, special offers, book award travel, check-in online, right? Those are the links that I do indeed want from Southwest.
Well, it's always done that. The only difference between that and what I'm getting is there's a picture.
But here's the funny thing, Leo. It feels cleaner and better to me.
Yeah.
Because before, what would have is that yellowed Southwest ad on top,
right,
with 2 or 3 layers of that, all kinds of ugly Google text in it. So it actually is prettier now, I would argue.
Way larger. Just super graphical, way larger.
I know I'll get accused of being a fanboy for that, but I actually don't think it's a bad experience.
I mean, Google has been doing a lot of experiments with that upper band, like across, with image search results, and you got the knowledge graph down the right side.
I like the knowledge graph. The knowledge graph is not an ad, because while it tells me about Southwest Airlines, it also says people also search for American Airlines, Delta Airlines, U.S. Airways, JetBlue, and Frontier.
Well, here's the thing, Leo. There's no knowledge graph on my search.
Oh, that's not good.
That's not so cool then. That's not so good, because you're right. The knowledge graph
this is useful in a non-advertising way.
Brand.
Right.
Yes. If you go
tells
to
me
Verizon,
who the CEO is, when it was founded.
If you search for Verizon, it should, of course, say Verizon or schmucks who won't attach Jeff Jarvis's Nexus 7 still. But if you that aside.
Well, remember why people type in. See, people use the Google search box in lieu of a URL. They type in
as navigation.
What's the number one search result on Google? Last time I was there, it was Yahoo. Because instead of typing yahoo.com, they type Yahoo, and they know that first link, they'll click it. So
I'm getting something in between what you guys
What are you getting? That's weird. There's no graphic.
Right. So what you don't get this box. See this box that I have? It's almost like a card for Southwest Airlines.
Right, and the knowledge graph is gone.
And the knowledge graph is gone. The image that is showing up on Search Engine Land has this box with the banner above it.
Right.
And you don't have a box at all, and you get the knowledge graph.
That's because this is all an experiment.
Yeah.
And so they're trying different things. And they're looking at pushback.
A/B testing, right. They're ABC testing.
ABC testing. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, probably. But I have.
But you're right, Leo.
That's the risk.
I was making fun of the QCat before the show and of this thing, which is URL space, where you can click buttons for links. But that's what Google has become. That it's the namespace.
Yeah, it is the namespace. You type it in at the top. Yes. It happened with the elimination of a separate search bar. I would say most normal users don't type .com. We trained them not to type http://. Now they don't even type .com. They type the thing they're looking for, McDonald's. And then
I'm surprised there isn't a I'm feeling lucky button in the universal bar. So I would just go straight to McDonald's. I guess Google doesn't want that, because Google does like me going to this
page.
Am
I wrong, or does that sometimes not happen, where if you type something, it actually takes it to that page, or is that
no, it doesn't.
It always... See, now, to me, okay, so I type McDonald's. This is the result I want from Google, which is a very nice combination of, links on the left, but I've got a local map for the nearest McDonald's. I've got the box on the right underneath that gives me information in a nonpartisan way.
Look for Burger King.
Yep. I still get the McDonald's logo. I mean, I think from the user's point of view, this is exactly the experience you want.
I agree.
Yes.
Taking that away and filling that page with a picture of Ronald McDonald would be a backward step.
But Leo, McDonald's didn't buy that ad above the listings.
Yeah, that's right. Google made no money on this.
You're right. Go to Verizon. Go to Verizon. Search for Verizon.
All right.
Not that I want to give them any attention.
So now I got the orange ad that you mentioned.
Now you have that ad, that ugly ad above, right? Oh, that's weird. I get the box and you don't. So strange. They're testing like crazy.
Now,
if you refresh,
possibly part of this problem is that Verizon is a couple of companies. So let me type Verizon Wireless.
Yeah, if you click on Verizon Wireless, you'll get the knowledge graph.
Because it's a couple of companies, so it's disambiguating it when I type wireless. And this is I tell you, from a point of view of a user, this is what I want. I can live with the ad because it's clearly an ad. I wish it weren't so big. and it's kind of a waste of space because it's the same. And by the way, when I search for something and then I see an ad, and right below it, as I am here, seeing a unadvertised link.
Yeah,
if I want to screw Google, I click the ad.
Well, if I want to screw Verizon, I click the ad because I want Verizon to pay.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's the other way around. If I want to, that's right. If I want to screw Verizon, I click the ad because they have to pay for that now.
Right.
If I don't, or I don't want Google to make any money, I click the native search link because nobody pays for that.
Yes.
Why does that choice even exist?
We're mature. Yeah, it's less than an S&H green stamp in cost, but still.
Hey, if everybody did
it, way to vote.
That's how you vote.
I feel like if Google didn't show Southwest.com as the top result and just the ad and then went to the rest of the results, then it would look really shady, right? Like they have to show that would have been the top result anyway.
But they kind of are because they're taking the knowledge graph out.
Request.
They're taking the knowledge graph out, which really bugs me.
Do we know that for sure though? Does that screenshot? That screenshot is sort of cropped. On your page.
On mine it does.
Right.
Yeah, on mine.
I think is a mistake.
I agree, Leo. I agree.
Do you think the advertiser
it's just a test.
Asks for that and says, "Look, I don't want all that independent stuff."
They should. Damn well shouldn't. That's always been Google's argument is they don't influence the search.
I actually, and this is something Google added, I don't know when, but I like this, and it's happening here with Verizon. It gives you deep links into the Verizon page, which is very helpful.
Yes.
So maybe you want to go to the front page and that link is there, but maybe you want to contact them or find a store or choose a plan. Those deep links are there as well. That's very useful. And that is like an ad. So I think what Google's saying, well, we're already doing this. If we put a picture there, what's the harm? Except for the size of the picture.
It's the equivalent of the brand's homepage, but it's a prospective search result that guesses where you're going to want to go there. And I would imagine it gets more personalized as time goes on. When you searched for for McDonald's, it presumed you want to know where the nearest McDonald's is, and it gives you a map.
Does paying for that banner picture, what did you call it?
Brand.
Does paying for that brand announcement give them the right to determine what deep links are there then beneath it?
It better not. It better not.
So that whole thing's not an ad unit, just the picture.
That should be the case. Now, whether it is or not, I don't know, but that should be the case. If that happens, then that is a violation of the founding principle of, what do they say on Star Trek? Of the prime directive of Google, which is that evil. Advertisers cannot have an impact on search listings. Full stop.
I mean, because they're showing Southwest below that whole big, huge box with the image, that makes me think
the whole
that
thing's
they are indeed buying that whole unit with all the deep links. Like this really toes the line. Like I'm a little uncomfortable with this.
Well, no, Gina, toes the line means that it's okay. It's on the line.
Oh, right. It's on the line. It's on the line. I'm saying it's certainly on the line. It's not crosses it. Okay, you're right.
Fuzzes the line.
Fuzzes the line.
Now, what do you get?
Smushes the line.
You're going to have to tell us, Jeff, because you're the guinea pig. What do you get when you click the banner?
Good question. Okay, here we go. I should get I go to the Southwest homepage.
That's it.
Period. Yeah. They could, Gina. If they took the white listings in their main directory and sold that, well, whoa, Gina, you may be right on the friggin' money, because I now notice there is a box around the entirety of the sponsored bug, the picture, and the they're white. But there's a box around it. Ooh, and it's the thinnest hairline rule you can imagine.
And then, is it going to show next time? Is it going to say, Gina Trapani likes Southwest Airlines?
Right.
If I had less resolution than my magnificent pixel, I wouldn't even see the rule.
So it's included in a box, which traditionally means that sponsored applies to everything. See the line?
But
well, wait a minute. No, because that's a separate.
The box, I think, has been there.
Has it? Okay. All right.
I mean, I think that's what I was saying with a card earlier, and you don't get the box. This is what I was saying. Each result seems completely different. Now, I don't have a sponsored icon on my box. These deep links I've seen on other search results.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
No, I get the same deep links. I just don't get the box.
Yeah.
And I don't get the ad. You got an ad? Is that an ad?
No. Well, yeah, I do get a ad related to Southwest Airlines.
But I don't get the ad. Wow.
Yeah, I get the box and I get
And
the
Chad,
ad.
what is that flight that you're getting in your knowledge graph? Is that a flight you've taken?
That's an upcoming trip. From San Francisco to Orlando.
Okay, that's why you're getting something different. You have
Disney World.
Close.
Chad's going to Disney World.
Minecon.
Minecraft
Disney World convention. It is.
Same thing. Might as well be Disney World.
So that's interesting. I think that he gets different results because he's got a flight booked on
and
Southwest.
it even says only you can see these results over in the corner.
So I don't know if you'd get the knowledge graph or
of course, not in your case.
It's not in my case. I'm streaming it live. Yes.
That's a Google Now style.
Chat room says to search Delta.
So what if I sign out?
All right, I'm going to search for. Do I have to search for Delta Airlines or just Delta?
Delta
sign out, I don't
it.
get the
Reinventing aviation. It's like it looks like it's an NPR rule where you can only say the tagline. Now it says sponsored above, and the rule goes around the entire thing, including.
So what do we vote? Yes, no, yay, nay, crossing the line, under the line, over the line, behind the line, toeing the line. Where is the line?
Tickling the line.
I don't even get an ad.
I don't like it.
Do you have
I don't like it either.
I think it crosses the line. I hope it's just an experiment.
I now
Crosses the
don't.
line.
I'm going to agree with you. If it was just selling that banner position, that branding position above, I would be okay with it aesthetically. It actually looks okay. But if they are selling what look like listings, that's violating the Prime Directive.
And I think it causes confusion as to what I'm looking at. Am I looking at results? Am I looking at ads? Don't. I think Marissa nailed it. Do not put ads in my search results.
Now, I don't know whether what we're saying is true or not. They may not be selling that. That may not be. But if the advertiser has control over it.
It says sponsored.
Well, you don't know where the line ends, where the box ends. I don't know.
Well, even if it doesn't, I don't like the big banner.
Just give me a caveat there. But if they are selling white listings.
Oh, well, that would be bad. But they're not. But let's presume they're not doing that, Jeff. Is it okay then if it's just a big picture?
If it's just a big picture, I said earlier, I'm not so bad with it. To my surprise, if you described it to me, I would have had problems. But given my consumer experience of wanting to go to something in Southwest Airlines, actually, it doesn't offend me. Well, I'm concerned about the ethical issue.
And if you want Google to be worth more than $1,000 a share, then this is the kind of thing you want. And this is how you get third quarter results like Google got. It was an amazing quarter, an increase of 12% over the third quarter of 2012, year over year. An interesting point, the click-through rate went down, the click-through revenue went down, but advertising revenue went up because they're selling a lot more ads. Wall Street was very impressed with Google's success. $13.77 billion in revenue. Just really a big quarter for Google. And by the way, a lot of profit. Google is not one of them, we make 5% on everything we sell. I don't know what the profit margin is, but it's big. Let's see if I can find that. Net income was $3 billion.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
They know how to make money.
$1 billion a month. So, and that's how you make money. Now, of course, Google also seems to have licked the mobile issue, and everybody's worried, Facebook and everybody else worried, how do you make money in mobile? Google seems to have figured that out. Their mobile ads have done well. I'm sorry, I got the revenues wrong. Revenues were $14.89 billion. Wow. Google Sites made $9.39 billion. Google Network revenue, that's partner sites, $3 billion. $1.23 billion from other. I don't know how to read a balance sheet.
What would the other be?
Other revenues from the Google segment. I can't read this crap. International revenues, $7.67 billion, 56% of their total revenue. More than half the money they make is from outside the U.S.
Which is probably not taxed here, but that's a method of
that's the double Dutch Irish runaround.
Somebody said it in the chat room.
I know.
Virgil, I think, said it in the
double
chat room.
Dutch Irish sandwich.
Irish sandwich.
Or no, double Irish Dutch sandwich.
Double Irish Dutch sandwich.
That's it.
That's it.
We read before the show, and I think this really nails this. a judgment, an interesting judgment from Judge Learned Hand. Back in 1947, IRS was suing somebody over just this kind of thing, being overly aggressive and avoiding taxes. And I will read you this, I think, salient quote from Judge Learned Hand. He said in his judgment in Commissioner versus Newman, 1947, over and over again, the courts have said there is nothing sinister in so arranging one's affairs as to keep taxes as low as possible. Everybody does so, rich and poor, and all do right, for nobody owes any duty to pay more tax than the law demands. Taxes are enforced extractions, not voluntary contributions. To demand more in the name of morals is mere cant. So for those who criticize Google for taking advantage of the tax law, that's a pretty good response.
I think I just read today that it is the 100th anniversary of the income tax in the United States of America. October 2013.
Wow. So it was 1913. And if you go to Newport, Rhode Island, you can see what happened before there was an income tax. Because the robber barons made so much money, they could build Versailles-like palaces on the ocean front at Newport, Rhode Island, because they got to keep everything.
Well, for the first many years of the tax until World War II, I think the story also said only 4% of Americans paid income tax.
Yeah, it was the very wealthy. That's where we've gone wrong. The 20th Amendment. I just paid a lot of taxes. That's okay. It's the price we pay to live in this far out.
You're such a good citizen. Before you were the show, you were talking about with Steve. You were talking about doing your jury duty. You're paying your taxes.
I believe that. Well, yeah, and I know this is probably sounds stupid, but I think we have a social contract, and that part of the deal.
So you just hand over all your phone calls to the NSA, huh? I'll save you the trouble.
I'll talk to you about that another time. I was talking to Steve about this. A very interesting piece by a security expert named Dan Geer, in which he said, look, the NSA and the law enforcement is doing exactly what we wanted them to do. Because we said, perhaps not understanding the consequences, never again. We said, secure us. We said, we don't want another 9/11 ever again.
That's the Patriot Act, right?
And the natural consequence for those who understand how this stuff works is that you need total information awareness, because the only way to say never again is to know everything that happens.
But that's the fallacy right there, because Dianne Feinstein wrote an op-ed in USA Today extolling getting more dots, which of course is funny since USA Today has a dot logo now. But anyway, going on about how you have more and more dots. And I'm going to do a Guardian event in 2 weeks where I'm going to interview former Senator Bob Kerrey, former member of the 9/11 Commission. And the first question I want to ask is, because the 9/11 Commission said we have to connect more dots. Does having more dots have any connection to connecting more dots?
Yes.
So we're overloaded with dots now. We got dots coming out there. We're crazy with dots, and it becomes an information overload. It's as Clay Shirky would put it, it's a filter failure problem now, where you have too much information because you're not being focused, because you get this ethos, in the words of Keith Alexander, to collect it all. So now you have unbelievable amounts of data, and you can't do anything with it because you haven't focused. It's too much.
Do need the right dots.
I think you'd have an argument from the folks who are in the law enforcement agencies who believe they are in fact processing these dots effectively.
Well, a spy is going to try to get as much as possible.
Or believe that, hey, look at Moore's law. Let's collect it all now. We'll have enough processing power soon. Don't worry about that part. That part we know is going to double every 18 months. So just save it for later. And they are applying some very sophisticated algorithms to this. The other thing that Geer points out, which I think is true, is that the content is not what's important. The metadata is important. The relationships, who's talking to whom. That's really where all the value is. And
of course, you could never have enough
metadata.
Dots.
That's a different kind of dot.
Oh, that game. I am so addicted to that game.
Dots.
It's a good game, isn't it?
Oh.
We're talking about, who wrote that?
That's a BetaWorks, isn't it?
Is it Lauren Brichter? BetaWorks.
No, I think it's BetaWorks.
BetaWorks.
Yeah.
BetaWorks.
And it's on Android, and it's just as addictive on Android as it is on iOS. Let's take a break. We're going to come back with the changelog See what Google's been up to. Is there a changelog this week?
There absolutely is.
Good.
I am ready.
There wasn't last week. Google didn't do nothing. Took the week off.
Yeah.
Our show today brought to you by LegalZoom.com. Sometimes in this life, when you're starting a business, starting a family, you need paperwork, legal paperwork. It's the sensible thing to do, but maybe you say, I don't want to pay for a lawyer. Well, you don't have to, because LegalZoom can help you. They're not a law firm. They help you do the legal work you need to do under your specific direction. For instance, starting a business, you'd be crazy not to get an LLC or an incorporation at LegalZoom.com, especially since it's only $99. I brought the site down. No, I just clicked too fast. Especially since it's $99. Incorporation, Chapter S or C, $99. Trademark. As soon as I started Twit, I immediately trademarked the Twit logo and the Twit name. And I think that's a really important thing to do. $169 plus filing fees at LegalZoom.com. Now, sometimes it comes along and you say, God, I really would like to ask an attorney to help me. They can do that too. They have pre-negotiated fees, flat rate fees, with attorneys in almost every state. So you can get legal advice from an experienced attorney. You can read their profile, read unedited reviews, so you can pick the attorney that's right for you. And the rate is pre-negotiated. You know how much it's going to cost? From $11.99 a month to talk to a lawyer. That is awesome. LegalZoom.com. Great for the family. Starting a family, you need a last will and testament. They can do that. Peace of mind from $69. Look at all the products and services LegalZoom offers. It's really quite impressive. And all of this stuff really, trust me, you can do yourself with the help of LegalZoom.com. You lease some property? They've got real estate leases, deed transfers, other real estate documents. You want to do a copyright? They got it. Bankruptcy, divorce, immigration, personal injury, name change. I want to change my name to Peanut Butter Cup. They can help you. They can help you do that. $139 for a full legal name change or to change the name of a minor. So here's the deal. Visit LegalZoom.com. Make sure you use our offer code TWIG in the referral box. You'll get $10 off at checkout. LegalZoom.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on Twig. Forbes said one of the 10 best digital tools for entrepreneurs in 2012. That's pretty good. Pretty darn good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, play the trumpets. Ring the bells. It's time for the changelog.
The Google changelog.
Gina Trapani.
Google Hangouts for iOS got a massive update, rendering lots of Android users really jealous and sad.
Hey, that's not right.
It's not right. So the new Hangouts update for iOS gives the users the ability to call numbers directly from the app itself with no charge for any calls to the U.S. and Canadian numbers, and international calls work too for a fee. If users have a Google account, Google Voice account, this is what I want. This is what I want so bad. It can both make and receive calls with outgoing calls showing your Google Voice number and incoming calls popping up in the Hangouts app itself. Also new, the visible indicators of who is reachable right now that recently popped up in the Android version. We've got inline animated GIF support. GIF or GIF? I can never remember. GIF support.
GIF, damn it, GIF.
GIF.
We all fly in the face of the founder who says
right,
GIF.
Not GIF.
It's a GIF, damn it.
And now incoming calls don't stop a user's music that you're listening to on iOS. It just pauses it. So, of course, Vic Condotra announced this on Google+, and a lot of Android users were very upset. And Vic said, guys, don't worry. We have a massive investment in Android. Yeah. I promise you will be happy soon. And this is my favorite part. Don't get upset because we show some love to Google users who use iOS. There are a lot of them, and they are good people.
Yeah.
They are good people. We like our iOS counterparts. That's cute. So waiting for that big Hangouts update for Android. Very possible that it'll drop with KitKat whenever the Nexus 5 comes out.
I'm waiting.
I think will probably be soon. It's as we said on All About Android last night, it's perpetually a week away.
Well, October's a week and a day left, so it should happen soon.
It should happen soon.
You had a provocative promo for All About Android about Nexus 5 conspiracy theories, Gina. What were those?
We talked about those.
Yes.
Like
yeah,
like why they did. Yeah, we talked about that, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
We did? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Whether this is like, hapless geeks leaking or purposeful marketing ploys.
Okay.
Google debuts parental controls for Chrome and Chromebook computers. They've got a new supervised users feature. This is now in beta. And this option is for parents and kids. And a lot of kids are going to be using Chromebooks. Are using Chromebooks and will probably continue to be using Chromebooks. This supervised users feature allows a user, most likely a parent, to lock down the Chrome browser running on their device in order to allow and block access to certain websites, enable safe search for filtering Google search results, and maintain a history of the websites visited, among other things. So I'm so excited that all of this is going to be in place once Edda's old enough to be surfing the web.
Are those the same features that educators can use? Now they're just giving them to parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, this is the same features. This is in the beta builds, and in fact, I don't know if you have this, Jeff, on your Pixel yet, but yeah, I believe that this is the same strain of features, and I think that this is exactly for that. It's for Chrome in the classroom and for Chrome at home with kids.
If I may interrupt for a moment, which is what I do here.
Sure.
Chad, the last item under other, there's a picture there that I've found out is a Rorschach test for Luddites or geeks.
Oh.
Wait a moment for the picture to go up.
Let's all look at it. And,
yes, we'll all look at it.
We'll see what we think.
What do you see happening in this picture?
Oh, yeah. You posted this, yeah.
I posted this, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of kids, a teacher in Texas or a tech administrator in Texas put a picture up of a bunch of kids outside on a bench at a school.
It's recess.
And the majority of them, well, it's something. The majority of them are on laptops. This is a one-for-one Chromebook district. The reaction was fascinating, because people came on and a lot of them said, they should be throwing Frisbees. They should be doing this. They should be talking to people. And I said, they probably are talking to people. They're just talking, and somebody else said, yeah, they're not talking to the doofus who's sitting next to them. They're talking to somebody better. And the reactions were just polarized as hell. This is sad. This is creepy. No, this is great.
What? Really? People thought that was creepy? That did not strike me as creepy.
Yes, sad, creepy, social misfits, all that meme you'd hear.
Clamp says they're waiting for the Apple Store to open.
Ooh.
The line goes round the school. No, and some of them are on the football team. You see they're wearing their jerseys, so they're getting exercise. Unless the football team is like, on a Chromebook.
That could be their chess jerseys, Leo. I don't know.
It's the chess team.
My reaction is like, oh, I'm so glad they're getting outside while they're using their computers. Like,
yeah, I have too.
I've seen this exact thing so many times. I didn't even think anything negative. It just looks normal to me.
But oh my God,
my kids went to a 1-to-1 high school, and that's what you see. Yeah, and they still are active. They still play Frisbee and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that there are days when I regret that the physicality of like the work that we do involves sort of being hunched over a computer. I mean, I think this is what Glass is about, right? Is like not having everyone sort of, and I get it, Glass is imperfect and whatever, but I can sort of understand the reaction a little bit. But my reaction was definitely, I'm glad they're using computers outside.
Hey, it's better than getting some bully throwing a dodgeball at you at 100 miles an hour.
That's for sure.
Right? That stings.
Right.
I like that.
You know from experience, Leo?
Yes. I wish I'd had Chromebooks when I was growing up.
Well, that was the interesting thing, too. People in this, people who were, their 20s said, oh, I so wish I'd had laptops then because, I just went off and looked antisocial in some other way.
Yeah, I sat there doing this, but I didn't have anything on my lap.
I locked myself in the computer lab in college most of the time.
Did you? Wow.
There you go. Yeah. In high school, it was a spiral notebook.
Right.
But yeah.
Were you drawing or writing?
In high school, writing mostly. Yeah. All right, let's get back to the changelog. This is from the no, that's okay. From the it's really cool, it can do this, but I don't know when I'd ever use this category. Google brings mouse and trackpad handwriting support to Gmail in over 50 languages and Docs in over 20 languages. So you basically, if you want to literally draw characters on your trackpad in very many languages, you can enable input tools in Gmail or Docs. You have to go into settings, general, enable input tools, and then you've got this little button that says, hey, turn on handwriting support, and you can draw characters in many, many, many languages, 50 in Gmail and Docs in 20, and transcribe, and it will get entered into your document.
This is most useful for non-Roman languages or ideographic languages like Chinese.
Yes.
Where that would be so much better than trying to use a keyboard.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the use for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And finally, Google Plus discontinuing saved search. So you used to be able to save a search for a keyword. Now Google's saying, hey, this is going away. If you want to save a search, just bookmark the page to the search results. So
they thought that was going to take over the world, and that we were all going to have tons of saved searches, and it was going to be this great thing. And that's the great, Google learns. No, nobody wants it. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah, clearly nobody was using it.
Well, not nobody, but if you were the 1% that used it, now you can't.
Now you're pissed. Reader.
Now you've got a lot of bookmarks.
God, what do they do to Reader?
Is it that hard though to maintain a saved search? I mean, it seems like, unless absolutely nobody used it. I mean, really nobody used it. I didn't use it.
I think the problem was it was another feature. It should have been a follow.
Yeah.
It's like a follow a person. I should have been able to follow a search. They already had that grammar there, and they tried to make up a new world, and that's to me the mistake.
Yeah, I mean, if they had a decent API, people could make clients that would save searches for them.
Yes.
Like there's always this tension with the 1% uses this, 99% doesn't, so we need to take the buttons, we need to take it out. And there's always going to be that. But if you had a decent API, then people could make power apps that did those things.
Steven in the chat room says, "I'm sure Elgin used it."
I'm sure that Elgin did use it.
I used it when it first came out, and then I never used it again.
Yeah, I forgot. Right?
Yeah, forgot about it.
And forgot to look at them.
Which says something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got for the changelog.
And that's the Google changelog. Do you love this use of Google's autocomplete in this ad campaign?
I saw somebody linked. I saw somebody link to this, and I thought that's only going to upset me, and I didn't look at it.
It is. It's upsetting. These aren't real, though. These are edited. These are not the actual.
Yeah, that's the problem that bothered me. I made the reference to that being edited. I think that makes us all look bad, because I went to every one of those searches and I looked at them, and yes, half of them were yucky and made me feel bad, but the other half made me feel fine.
Right.
And so it's a bit of a falsehood, I think, to try to take it and only give us the bad of us.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's so. If I understand correctly, the premise is that these are Google suggests autocomplete phrases for things.
Women shouldn't ... Women
Gotcha.
should ...
Yeah, that's I don't think that's a good measure.
If they're faked, and if they're faked, which they were, to take some of the power.
Not to say
out
that bad attitudes don't exist, but
they definitely do.
That's a little. That seems a little sensationalistic to me.
Now, I
don't
just
like
typed women shouldn't, and I got women shouldn't work, women shouldn't be in combat, women shouldn't be cops, women shouldn't vote, women shouldn't go to college. That's pretty bad.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Well, but that's just like we've Googled ourselves on this show. You put in your name, and of course, it's like divorce.
I know. I got the worst stuff, right?
It's all the bad stuff, right?
Women should not be in combat. Women should be in combat. Women should not preach. Women should not speak in church. Women should be seen and not heard. Wow.
Oh, God.
I guess, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so faked.
Those are your actual.
These are actual. This is not from the posters.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Leo? I swear this has changed since when I looked at it before the show some hours ago. Because now, it is definitely more negative. You're right, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It feels like that ad or that article is encouraging people to search for those things, which is just ranking them higher. So it's like
it's ranking them higher. Exactly.
You know what?
Yeah.
Women or men should not do autocomplete to figure out stuff.
Yes, all right. Women or men should not use autocomplete.
Now, what do you get when you type men shouldn't? Men shouldn't wear shorts, shouldn't wear flip-flops. Men shouldn't marry. Men shouldn't hit women. There's a good one. Men shouldn't wear jewelry.
What's with the men in shorts thing? I don't get it. There's like this whole.
I agree. I don't want to see your knees.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen sunlight since 1962.
But I think the men shouldn't wear flip-flops seems to be a very strong current. It's like number one. And I don't know why that is.
I like a good manly flip-flop. I don't have a problem with men in flip-flops. I guess hairy toes,
Geeks love to wear shorts, so,
Show title.
Sorry.
Hairy
This is going
toes?
off the rails. Sorry.
Hairy toes, yep.
Let's be clear. The point of the ad is important, that there is far more misogyny, then
all you have to do is do that autocomplete right
Point
there.
well said.
Yep, men and women. It's kind of a difference. Tesla's going to add Chrome as well as an Android emulator. What is that, to its big screen?
Yeah.
Seems like such a bad idea. One of the reasons I didn't get a Tesla is I knew I would be distracted by that 17-inch display.
I know.
It looks like too much fun. They're going to add Chrome and third-party apps to their Model S vehicles by the end of the year, according to Elon Musk.
Neat.
And they're considering adding an Android emulator to the car so you can literally run an Android program in a window on the car. We'll have to see how that works out.
Okay.
They also chose, I think, AT&T for their LTE access, so it's a good thing, because if it was Verizon, I'd never buy a Tesla. I'd never hook mine up.
Still nothing on your Nexus 7, huh?
Nada.
Not a thing. Netflix had a good quarter, proving its strategy's correct. It crossed 30 million subscribers, making it bigger than HBO. 31 million subscribers, 9 million in the rest of the world, a total of 40 million people paying $7.99 a month for Netflix streaming. Stock market loved that. And, of course, some real successes in their Netflix original productions. They just did a deal with Sony Motion Pictures, the first major movie studio to do a deal.
You watched Orange is the New Black?
Love that.
Oh, God, it was such a great show. Such a great show.
Doing very well, by the way.
Bigger than, I think, any other Netflix show so far, which is amazing.
Really? More than House of Cards, huh?
I think I saw something to that effect, yeah. What you
And it didn't seem like it got the marketing that House of Cards got. But
No,
it
it
was
didn't.
Such a great show.
You know, women in prison, you can't go wrong, really.
Yeah, you can't beat it. Women should go to prison so we can watch them.
The premise of the show, it's a true story. The premise of it is that a white, well-educated, I think she went to Smith, right, or somewhere, a middle-class woman goes to federal or state prison, I can't remember, for a crime she committed in her youth, like 8 years ago. And the book is her memoir.
She was muling money.
What's interesting about it is, muling money for her girlfriend, drug lord. What's interesting about it is that each episode kind of highlights these other women in prison, and their stories are fascinating. So it's kind of fun.
It's one of the only shows, I guess I shouldn't say on TV because it's not on TV. one of the only shows where all the character, the whole story focuses around women and their relationship primarily with other women.
Yeah.
Like the one major male character is sort of this like doofy guy.
Porn stash.
And porn stash, right? I mean, it's an extremely feminist. It's incredible. Like it's so good to see protagonists and to see women presented as people who have problems beyond their boy, like trying to get a boyfriend.
Yeah. What is that?
Except they're all criminals and in prison, which is not maybe the best. Yes, I agree.
What is that? What is that test that you do? That if there's a female character that doesn't talk about men, or
yes, yes,
I can't remember that.
Oh,
you know what's surprisingly good? I thought it would just be, given its network Showtime and its title Masters of Sex. I thought it would just be a lot of nudity.
It's good.
It's surprisingly good, and it's surprisingly feminist, because what it really is about is the repressive roles that women had to take in the 50s.
Right, it's Masters and Johnson. I heard it was sort of Mad Men with nudity, though. It's better.
A lot of nudity, and it's it's about sex. What do you expect? But it is. It's the prequel to Mad Men, because Mad Men starts where Masters of Sex leaves off, and so Mad Men is all about the kind of unfolding of the 60s and liberation. This is about how repressive the 50s were. God, I forgot how bad it was.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. I was saying to a friend of mine, like, I was like, I love Orange is the New Black because it's like there's so many like kind of realistic relationships, especially lesbian relationships. He's like, Gina, they're in prison.
Yeah.
I was like,
there's not much choice. But and to be fair, there's a lot of nudity in that show too, and a lot of sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Now, House of Cards to me is the better of the three, because it's really it's about the amazing manipulations that go on in politics, and I think it's quite good. Boy, Kevin Spacey's brilliant in it. But they're all three good, and I think that bravo Netflix. I mean, really, I think this is great.
Yeah.
They hit it out of the park.
This has been Chromecast for me too. My Nexus 7. I won't make a Verizon joke. I watch shows. I'm spending a fortune watching shows. Orphan Black. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I started that. It's interesting.
It's good. It gets even better.
I like it.
That one.
No,
The
I like it.
Americans is interesting.
It's a little. Sometimes when
I've got
shows are really nerve-wracking, I don't want to watch them because I like my stomach's in a knot, and it's a stomach in a knot show.
The Bechdel test. Sorry. Thank you, Fu, in the chat room. Bechdel test.
Bechdel.
Yeah, named after Alison Bechdel, who's an incredible cartoonist. Yeah, she's the one who came up with the test. Like, is there a character in the story who is a woman whose story doesn't revolve around?
It says the test asks whether a work of fiction features at least two women who talk to each other about something other than a man.
Yeah, that's it.
Period.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed at how many movies fail that test. Like most.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you for my feminist soapboxing of the episode.
No, we're all with you. Right on. You've come a long way, baby.
Yeah.
Now you can smoke cigarettes.
I know. No matter what Google Auto Suggest says, I can smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if I want to go into this, but it's when I read the headline, I thought it was kind of creepy. Facebook and beheading videos. Yeah.
I did an interview on BBC about this today.
By the way, I should warn people that what you were about to talk about could be very triggering, and if you're at all sensitive to this stuff, stop now.
But I do not want to go into any detail on it.
We're not going to show anything. Don't worry.
Videos.
They're highly offensive videos.
Highly offensive videos, and Facebook's argument in a free speech vein was that as long as people were putting them up to criticize them, to condemn them, that it was okay. The argument then came back, well, then why don't you allow nursing mothers' naked breasts? And
because we're not condemning nursing.
Well,
no, that's not right.
Then even David Cameron, Prime Minister of the UK, condemned the Facebook's action. So Facebook pretty much backed off, took that video down, but still left the open door to say that some things could be put up. And there was a very good column by a columnist in the Guardian that said once they chose to edit anything, then they do have a necessity to make a standard and say what that standard is. Now, at the same time, as a news person, I don't want somebody to come to the news and say you can't show anything that's going to offend anyone and it's going to be disgusting. You don't want that. But I think you do have to ask, where's the harm here? And the harm of showing these horrible things, because you're right, it's triggers.
There's genuine harm in this. No one should see
this. You can condemn this without showing it.
Yeah.
So I agree. So in the end, I agree it should not be there, though I understand the argument of principle isn't as simple as it seems.
It's difficult. You know what? It really comes down to this notion of is a internet provider a common carrier, like the phone company, where they're not responsible for anything.
Exactly.
Or if they're responsible for anything at all, then they're responsible for everything. There's no middle ground.
The Reddit creep shots,
No, there is a middle ground.
Is there a middle ground?
Yeah, but there's a middle ground. Sure, there's a middle ground because Facebook can say we're a place where friends get together to meet and have a nice time.
Right.
And yes, dissidents can use it to show war and show bad things that happen in war. If Facebook started taking down all the pictures that came from people being killed in Syria, they'd be smashed for that, and that's disgusting. That's dead children, for God's sakes. There's nothing more disgusting than that.
There's reason,
but it's there for a purpose.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to come to an agreement about what's okay and what's not okay, but I guess it's worth doing it.
Exactly. So Facebook and Google try to avoid that. They try to say we want to be common carrier. We don't want to do anything, not really for legal reasons, but just for the hassle and the expense reasons.
They can't too technically,
but they do have some. I think they have a right responsibility and somewhat of an obligation to have a decent environment. I mean, I learned this about trolls and comments. If you don't kill if you let the trolls take it all over, then they will take over everything.
That's right.
So at some point, you have responsibility for helping the community because you have the authority.
That's right.
You are the one who can kill it. Nobody else can. But the other thing I said too is it's not as if BBC tried to say, well, does this, advertisers going to run away from Facebook and it's going to affect their market? And I said, no. Zuckerberg said long ago that no two people in the world see the same Facebook. The number of people who see this crap is limited, and I think we don't want to overblow it and perhaps give it too much attention.
Okay, moving on.
Should we talk about this Android piece?
Yeah, you want to? You talked about it last night, didn't you?
Yeah, I wanted to know your views on that brought over to this show from last night's show, Gina. Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about it last night, so I apologize to anyone who watched all about Android.
No, but it's very important. Yeah, let's talk about it.
It's good.
This is Ron Amadio's piece on Ars Technica, Google's iron grip on Android, controlling open source by any means necessary. And we actually had Ron, the author of the article, on All About Android last night. So, and we really got into it with him. It was a really good conversation. I mean, the summary of his article is basically that, every time Google releases a proprietary Google app like Gmail or like Hangouts or like Google Photos, which we're going to see in KitKat, that the open source version, just the generic gallery app, the generic messaging app, the generic email app, basically becomes abandonware. That Google stops updating that. Even though Android is open source, we all know that Google works on it in private, behind closed doors, and then when they do a release, they release the source out into the public, right? So it's not a thing that's happening, in public nightly, and they're not accepting contributions from anyone else. So this article is basically saying that, that Android in a lot of ways, and this is actually, I think, one of the best arguments I've ever seen for Android not really being open. That Google it lets all, turns all the open source Android apps into abandonware and replaces them with their own proprietary versions, which are closed source and which only run on Google Experience phones, right? And there are restrictions that Google, the company, puts in place for manufacturers to satisfy all the requirements that let them run all the Google proprietary apps, which is the Play Store and Maps and Gmail and all that. They have to make some agreements. And, some of those are backdoor agreements that aren't public, and we're not really sure what they are. Ron did a really good job. He was saying that the Open Handset Alliance, based on information that we've gotten from, court cases and other snippets here and there, it sounds as if Google has made every manufacturer in the Open Handset Alliance basically promise to not distribute devices unless they're Google Experience Android. So in essence, Google is locking out other companies from being able to fork Android, with the exception, of course, of Amazon, and we're seeing things like CyanogenMod now, to fork Android and to make Google's doing everything it can to make it as difficult as possible for any other company to fork Android and to make their own custom Android build that could compete with Android. That Android's value is the proprietary closed source layer of Google Apps versus the open source code. So it's a great read. It's something it's the first time that I've actually been swayed. I hate these arguments. Is Android really open? Right. I've always sort of dismissed those, right? But this is the first time that I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I mean, I think that Google, now that Google has dominant market share, they really are going out of their way to make it difficult for anyone else to catch up to them.
So you would contrast it to somebody like, let's say, Ubuntu, which takes Linux, doesn't fork it, but enhances it, puts everything back into the open source repository, and all the changes that are made, I believe, on Ubuntu are done in public as opposed to behind closed doors.
That's right.
So that would be the other way to handle it.
Right. I mean, the proprietary Google apps, like take example for Hangouts or Google Play Music, they're so deeply and closely knitted into Google's web services. Or Google Now, for example, the Google search app, the open source one hasn't been updated in a really long time. It looks really old, but Google Now is the new version. That they haven't open sourced those because they're so closely tied with their services, their cloud services, right. Meaning. So it feels like it's time for Google to start letting in third-party collaborators who will update the core, generic, non-Google Web Service specific apps. Like messaging and like email and like Google search, just the search bar, to kind of keep those up to date because those are abandonware. So this spawns companies like Samsung who, write all their own proprietary apps, right, to replace the Google version. The thing is that they're never going to be as good as the Google version.
They're not as good.
Because Google had a head start, because Google is an incredible web services company. I mean, it's clear that Android from day one we knew was a platform for Google services, right? But it just seems like they're being much more of a bully and much more protective and defensive of their turf, now that Android has, achieved the dominant market position that it has. It's a great read.
It's not necessarily a negative. I mean, there is an open version of Android, and then it's not inappropriate for Google to make a closed version of Android, but it just shouldn't call it an open.
I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, their closed apps are apps on top of the open layer, right? So they're not like actually taking.
But Apple does that with Apple does that with Darwin.
There's nothing wrong with that. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Right. I mean, everybody can build.
Just
apps
don't
on
call
top
it open source, because it's not.
Well, it's leaving the apps, the original apps, the open source version, on not updated, concentrating all of their effort into the proprietary closed layer that lives on top of the open layer, and then saying, hey, Android's open source, you know, and we've got apps that haven't been touched in.
Apple will say, we're built on open source software. Darwin is open source. We contribute stuff back to the Darwin project. But the sum of OS X is much more than Darwin, just as the sum of a Google Experience phone is much more than Android.
Right.
So they should say that.
WordPress.com.
Huh?
Or WordPress.com.
WordPress is a similar.
WordPress.org.
Yeah, right. And I'm reckoning with ThinkUp. We're going to have a proprietary system and layer. And like, this is the thing: when you build a business on open source, you generally don't open source the business value, right? Like, the business value for Google is that people are running the Play Store and purchasing things there, and running Google Now and using Google services and making Google part of their lives. Somebody else who forks Android. Whether it's Cyanogen or MIUI or Amazon
is the classic example.
Amazon is the clear case.
Yeah.
Gina, let me ask a question though. Devil's advocate moment here. The question is, what's Google protecting besides the business interest in terms of brand? If I'm some fly-by-night horrible phone manufacturer and I put up some absolutely awful version of Android and I mess it all up, Google's brand isn't so much hurt. But if somehow I mess up Google Mail and Google Maps and Google this and Google that, the services that are core to Google's brand, that could hurt Google. So in a way, isn't Google protecting its apps more than its OS?
Yeah. I mean, right. It is protecting its apps. I mean, that's why they have sort of all these requirements that manufacturers have to abide by before that they can put Google on the handset and have the Play Store on it. And yeah, they are protecting their apps, but this is the thing, like, Android's open source, and the idea is like anybody can come along and fork Android or build on Android and have a successful operating system too. It just seems like Google is doing everything they can to kind of block that from actually happening, right? So I never really had a problem with the fact that they did a batch release of all the source code on a given date and worked kind of within Google's doors, privately behind Google doors during development. But now I kind of do, now that I can see that they're not keeping the AOSP up to date with modern Android design guidelines, for example, because they're pouring all their energy into the proprietary apps. Because that just feels like, well, either iterate in public and let other people contribute and keep the operating system up to date, the open source project up to date, or just close the whole thing. But it feels like, and this is kind of the conclusion we came to on All About Android last night, it's like, yeah, Android is more open than other options, but it's not quite as open as Google says, like this is the first time that I was like, oh, so open is a marketing term here. Right. It's not untrue, but it's not completely true either.
So if they didn't call it open source, but they called it opener, then
opener, right? That might be.
Would anyone have a problem with that?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the operating system is and continues to be open source.
That is right. That's right.
So
that's right. But every time
we're talking about the application layer on top of it.
The application layer is I don't have a complaint with that. That's
a lot of apps are not open source. In fact, most apps are not open source.
Here's the thing: we're not complaining about it because we don't use those apps. Like, we use the proprietary Google Experience apps. So we're not using the stock messaging app or the stock. Well, right. We're using the stock gallery app.
I often use it on Cyanogen. It's one of the reasons I like Google Experience phones, because they've got it right.
Right.
Frankly. But now, the second part is the Open Handset Alliance. And I think this is where Google probably, I understand why for business reasons, but maybe exerts more influence than they should. The Open Handset Alliance is the one that strong arms manufacturers, says if you want our apps, you better do it right.
Right.
And you could make the case that that as Nintendo learned Atari's debacle in the gaming world, that you control the games because the quality of the games determines the success of your platform. So you could make that argument. Google's just protecting the platform by making sure that the handset makers do quality implementations. But I think they use it to strong-arm them to include the Google apps and to make sure that they don't mess around with Android. So I think what you have is kind of three states. You have open source operating system, closed-sourced apps, but then you have this Open Handset Alliance that is exerting economic pressure on companies to toe the line.
Yeah, I mean, Google's trying to make it so that the best Android experience, and really it's been effective because the best and really the only Android experience is the Google experience, the dominant.
Well, and they're winning because, God, I hate TouchWiz. Motorola's given up Blur. HTC, as nice as the HTC Sense 5 is, it's still no competitor to the Google experience. So I don't know.
There's your proof of the reason to protect.
Right.
Is that even when you're authorized and do everything right and add this layer on top, it's cruft.
Right. I think this is an argument that most of the people who use Android don't really appreciate and understand, but it's a good one for us to have.
Yeah.
What conclusions did you draw on All About Android last night?
Pretty much what we said, that this is, that Android maybe isn't as open as, and I say we, like developers like to think that it is kind of a marketing term, that we, celebrate every time Google releases a Google app in the Play Store, like the keyboard and the camera, like the Google experience apps. But and this is Ron's point in the article, every time that happens, that means that there's an open source app which has been abandoned, right? Which development will not continue.
Abandoned by Google.
Abandoned by Google.
But Google has no responsibility to do that. That's the open source community. If it wants that app, should continue to support it.
But Google doesn't take code contributions from anyone else.
Oh.
The only authors of AOSP are Googlers.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, well, they got to change that. If you're gonna do a Google keyboard, then the AOSP keyboard has to be released to the open source community so they can maintain it.
Right. Exactly. And it is released. It's released in the AOSP code that gets sort of batch dropped by Google. Whatever at each release, right? But it's not. As far as I know, there are no other companies authoring Android modifications, and those aren't getting accepted back into the canonical AOSP.
It's a one-way street.
It's a one-way street. Yeah. So that's like open in mostly in name. So the conclusion was that it's just a kind of an awareness of, every time we're like, yay, Google Play Services is awesome. It's also like, boo, any app that uses Google Play Services ain't going to run on any other distribution of Android. And there's lots of other distributions of Android. It's not just Fire OS. I mean, in China, no one in China could use Google services. They're all, most Chinese users are using some sort of fork of Android without all the Google services on top.
I'd love to know what Steve Kondik thinks of this, the author, the creator of CyanogenMod.
I'd love to get him on the show sometime. I know he's a busy guy and he's got his new company and all, but we should try to get him sometime.
Chad or Karsten, let's go for Steve Kondik, Kondik. We're going to add him to our list for either triangulation or twig, because he must have. I mean, of anybody, he would be the one who's really caught in the middle. He makes the open source version, basically, or his not his company, but his project, CyanogenMod. Although there are lots of mods now using open source. I don't know. I mean, I think you could argue that it's the best of both worlds. We have really a very vibrant ecosystem right now.
Right. And La Roman in the chat room, of course, anybody could take the AOSP source code and modify it and update all those apps and maintain that separately.
That's what Kondik did.
Right. And that's right. That's what Cyanogen does. It just, it adds another layer of, I would love to see Google accept that back into the project and have those apps, those stock apps, grow and reflect the modern Android design principles. Right. Then have yet another entity kind of maintaining that.
Let's take a break. When we come back, your picks of the week, tip, number, pick coming up. First, a word from Personal Capital. As our financial lives get more and more complicated, it would be awfully nice. To make some sense of it. Well, guess what? Computers are designed. They're made for this. They're good at this. If you've got accounts scattered everywhere, your checking, your savings, your investments, your credit cards, your mortgages, your loans, wouldn't it be nice if you could put them all together, get an overview, get charts, get the idea of what's going on, and then make investments based on complete data, not incomplete information? That's what Personal Capital does. It combines all your financial accounts into a real-time snapshot with charts and information, everything you need. And then they help you do your investment strategy based on all of that stuff. Signing up just takes a minute. It's very easy to import all your accounts, and it'll pay big dividends by helping you make better investment decisions immediately. I've been using it for more than a year since we interviewed its founder, actually on Triangulation. And you know, one thing's for sure, your financial life is not going to get simpler. It's going to get more complicated. Why wait? Sign up. It's free. Personalcapital.com/twig. And you're ready to go. You start entering in your accounts, and you'll start seeing the big picture. Personalcapital.com/twig. We thank Personal Capital for their support of This Week in Google. Time now for Gina Trapani's Tip of the Week.
So I'll admit it. I saved this one from the changelog because I just thought it would be a cool tip. New Google search results fun. If you search for an artist songs, then you'll get a list of their songs. So today I Googled Pat Benatar songs. I know,
really? Pat Benatar? Really?
Love Pat Benatar. Love Pat Benatar. My big sister listened to Pat Benatar in the 80s. I thought she was like the coolest woman to ever hold a guitar.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Oh, this is neat. I like this.
Yeah, so you search for Pat Benatar songs, and at the top of your search results, or there you go, you tried Prince.
Yeah.
You get a scrolling list. So now click on one of the songs.
Can I play one?
Well, it'll fill. Oh, dang! Try another one.
Oh, so some of them.
If there's a YouTube
there
video,
it is. Here's the video.
There's a video. Then you
and
can
I
click
can play
on
the video.
Yeah.
Actually, this is on not on YouTube, but on guavaleaf.com.
Guavaleaf.
Well, I think that's good because it shouldn't just be YouTube, should it? It should be whoever's got video.
Who's ever got the video?
Right.
Yeah, let's pick one that Purple Rain's got to be on.
This is from myvideo.de.
Oh wow!
So it isn't just okay. 1999 will be on YouTube. No, 80svideo.tv.
But
That's
either way, you get a video.
You get a video
to play with a song. Now, I wish you could play the video in line in your search results. It does make you pop another tab.
It looks like it's about to do that, but it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Well, I'm kind of glad it doesn't do Vivo or YouTube here, but it's open. What do you search for? Jonathan Colton?
Yeah,
there's
so Jonathan
YouTube.
Colton. So Joko has a full screen YouTube link there.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the YouTube videos are a larger size than other videos.
Of course they are. Yeah.
Of course they are. So I spent all morning.
Oh, of course, it's Prince. Songs. Prince doesn't allow his stuff up there, right?
Oh, right. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
That's what it is, isn't it? Prince doesn't like the internet.
Right. You picked the one guy who hates
it's full
the
of
internet.
thieves. Let's try somebody who does. Metallica. No, that's wrong. Jonathan Colton's the right answer. By the way, Metallica, you don't even get the thing. You get like a normal boring search result. Oh yeah, you have to say songs, right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's important. Got to say there we go. There's songs.
Yeah. Okay. There it is.
Master of Puppets. Yeah, we got the YouTube.
All right.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Cool.
I mean, of course, there are dedicated music apps where you could probably, have a better interface for creating playlists and things like that. But this is handy for when you're out with your friends on your phone and you're like, what's that James Taylor song or whatever. And you can see it in search results.
Joan Jett songs.
Yeah, Joan Jett.
I knew you'd like her. Love hurts, ladies and gentlemen. It does. Take it from me.
Nice.
This
is why I work with you, Leo. You know the deal. You know the deal.
I know what's going down. Jeff Jarvis, your number of the week.
My wife hates my taste in music. Oh, you listen to that Bora Jones.
Oh.
I love Nora Jones.
She's good.
I like Nora Jones.
Who does your wife like?
You don't, Leo.
No, I like Nora. I'm over. I OD'd on Nora Jones. That's really what happened. I listened to her.
I will admit that.
Well,
here's my problem right now is I feel like a really dirty old man because I bought Lord's album, but it's amazing.
Whose?
No, Lord.
Lord is a band?
Yeah. It's a 17-year-old girl in New Zealand who's just phenomenal.
Oh, I don't know.
She did the song. Come on, help me out, chat room. What's her
Lord? Or Lured?
Well, no.
Lorde.
Hold on. Yes, Lorde.
Lorde. Let's play some Lorde
album
songs.
Title is
her real name.
The hit.
Her real name is Ella Maria Lani Yellow O'Connor. That's why she uses Lord. Tennis court.
Royals is the hit.
Royals is the hit.
The Royals. That's the hit you'll recognize.
Let's play this and get pulled from YouTube right away.
Okay, right, yes.
No, actually, I think the Prince song did it, even though we only played the first 3 notes.
Can you name this lawsuit in 3 notes? All right. Well,
oh, that sounds promising.
It does sound promising, but you'll have to just seek it out.
Yes,
Jeff, your number.
So actually, I'm going to cheat. I went to an event. I'm not doing a number. I'm going to do something else. I went to an event for Google this week, Conflict in a Connected World, Google Ideas, Jared Cohen and company. And I was on a panel with Chris Poole and Matt Honan about anonymity. But Google announced some really important things there. So I just wanted to make mention of that. They announced Project Shield initiative. So it would host sites that frequently come under politically motivated DDoS attacks. It announced uProxy from the University of Washington, which allows users in countries like China to access the internet as seen by a friend in a different and uncensored country.
Wow.
They put out, if you go to Leo or Chad, if you go to digitalattackmap.com, you see that they have a map of current DDoS attacks going on around the world from and where. So they're doing a lot about security because of people in conflict zones. So I thought that was important to at least give them a plug, since that is a show about Google. So
how interesting.
Well, that's weird. That's different.
Well, this is their Google Ideas video about it.
Oh, I see there.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about Project Shield on this Security Now this week.
Security, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah. Here's the data visualization of current attacks, trending DDoS attacks. Wow. They're all honing in.
The box in the ocean there is the ones they can't figure out where and to they're going from.
Wow. Looks like
that makes it look like everything's hitting North Carolina.
No, it looks like Washington D.C. is DDoSing China.
It's the U.S.
6 gigabits. It's coming out of the U.S. and going to a lot of places, but focused specifically on China. Don't know who would do that. You know, it's not what you'd thought. It's us attacking them.
No. Well, it's the other funny thing. If you saw this right before air, Der Spiegel revealed that Angela Merkel called Barack Obama and gave him what for, because of reports that the U.S. had hacked her cell phone.
Oh, well, you know.
Aren't we proud?
She's just joined the crowd, Angela.
Yeah.
We're all being hacked. It's okay. Yeah, she was pretty angry.
She was pretty angry. But what separates the U.S. government from Rupert Murdoch and News Corp, you know?
Is that a Telegraph revelation? Is that a Snowden revelation?
Telegraph? Wash your mouth out, Leo.
What did I say? Telegraph. I meant Guardian.
I think that one particularly came from Der Spiegel.
Somebody's been saying, yeah, it was from Der Spiegel. You're right. Somebody's been saying that the Guardian's been cleverly one head of state after another revealing, because it was France earlier, right?
Bit by bit. France is pissed off. Germany's pissed off. Yeah.
So, okay, we're gonna lighten the mood here. I just have been informed by the chat room that tomorrow PopCap Games will finally release Plants vs. Zombies 2 for Android in the U.S. There was some talk that maybe Apple had paid them. Why was it on iOS for so long? PopCap was at great pains saying, no, we just, we did it first. So good news. Tomorrow, by the time you hear this, if you're listening after the fact, Plants vs. Zombies 2, highly recommended.
Somebody's really going to win the App Arena next week. And
yeah. Whoever gets this one, it's all over. Yeah. This is
basically
such an addicting game. It's really fun. Thank you all for being here. We do this show every Wednesday afternoon, right after Security Now, about 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC on twit.tv. That's going to change because when does Daylight Savings Time end in the U.S.? Our summertime's ending soon, which will for those of you who live in the UTC, push us back an hour. Now they're saying it's out now. I don't see it. Maybe it was out in New Zealand, Plants vs. Zombies 2, and other places. So maybe it depends where you are. Not Plants vs. Zombies 1. That's been out for ages. We're talking PVZ 2. If you can't watch live, don't worry. We always have on-demand versions available after the. Oh yeah, it looks like it. No, these are not the real thing. These are fake ones. Do not be fooled by things like that. Most likely malware. Wait for the one from Electronic Arts PopCap. If you want to watch after the fact, go to twit.tv/twig. You can also join us in the studio. I have a nice little studio audience today. Just email tickets at twit.tv. We'll make sure there's a chair available for you to sit in. Coming up in Triangulation, we're going to talk to the founder. I'm very excited. Ladar Levinson.
Great.
The guy who was shut down, or decided to shut down instead of giving the federal government the keys to LavaBit, his encrypted email solution that reputedly Edward Snowden used to leak some of this information. So Ladar will join us. Okay, people are giving me the link. Let me check the link. Maybe it's available now.
There's Electronic Arts. Oh, and somebody in the chat room asked what time the Google event tomorrow. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern, and it'll be in New York.
And we know that's not right.
We're pretty sure that is
that's
not the Nexus 5 announcement. It's a Play Store announcement. We think it's Newsstand, which is Play Magazine being renamed Newsstand. Yeah, exactly.
I want my Nexus 5.
Thank you. So there is, if you can't find it in search, this sometimes happens when an app first comes out, but it is on there. Plants vs. Zombies 2. That's exciting. I'm installing it right now.
Just lost my week.
There goes your week.
Yep, there it goes.
Yep. By the way, I want to apologize if anybody installed the AnyDo calendar app, because I mentioned it last week. I don't know if you had this problem, but I'm going to tell you a problem I had. For some reason, it did something to my calendar services, and it was killing my battery. Sometimes happens with beta software. This was beta software. So I deleted it. Didn't work. I reinstalled. I did all sorts of stuff. Finally, I just had to rebuild my entire phone.
No.
And it's back. It's normal. It's okay now.
If I was a savvy marketing person, this is the point where I would plug to-do text.
Yeah, to-do text. To-do text. Don't do that AnyDo calendar thing. Wait till it's out for reals.
Text.
And I apologize if that happened to you as well. That was not my intent. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday on This Week in Google. Bye, Jeff. Bye, Gina.